In today's show, Brandon Sprague is back on the program. We're playing a little game. How confident are you? We're going to ask Brandon how confident he is about all things Portland Trailblazers. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richman. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts. Today's show, the final installment of my conversation with Brandon Sprague, radio host on 1080 The Fan, 6 to 9 a.m., him and Andy Dirt Johnson on your radio dial, and also the host of a Blazers podcast, Jack Ramsey, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. If you missed the first parts of my conversation with Brandon, they're in your feed right before this one, so don't miss it. Brandon hung around all week and we talked all things Trailblazers. Go back and check those if you haven't. Today's show, we're playing a game. We're having a little fun, so let's get into it. Let's play a game, Brandon. I'm calling this one confidence level. I'm going to give you some possibilities, and you can tell me your confidence level. Let's do them as percentages, and we can discuss them from there. You ready?
Let's go.
What is your confidence level that Damian Lillard averages 30 points per game this season?
26%.
Just because there's too many mouths to feed.
That's a lot of points. I mean, what wasn't last year the leading scorer in the NBA, like at 30 or 31? So I could see him having a redemption year and playing well. I just think Ant's going to get his shots. Jeremy's going to get his, and they're going to share the rock a little bit. I think Dame knows that. So
what's like the low end for Dame scoring? Like what's like the lowest you can see him averaging?
25.
Yeah, I was gonna say 26. Yeah, it's like
right
he's not going to average 30, but he's going to average 27 and a half or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, he averaged 30 the bubble year, but he was not quite there. And then he averaged 38 a game in the bubble, and he just jumped up because he went bonkers, including 61 against the Mavericks when
they needed to win all those games, though, basically to get into that playoff. So like he was there to get to the playoffs, so he wasn't effing around. Yeah,
totally. And he touched a level that we just not too many dudes can touch. It was it was a really special run, and then he kind of ran out of gas because he spent 2 weeks just leaving it all out there. It's tough. Okay, next one. What is your confidence level in Chauncey Billups improving as a head coach in year 2?
74%.
Why'd you laugh?
Who the hell knows what kind of coach he is? That 100%. Team was awful. They tanked. It's like nobody, being honest with their listeners, readers, whatever, has any feel on what kind of coach that dude is. I'm going to assume they'll win more games. What happens when coaches and teams win more games, Mike? The coach gets the credit. So I will just say naturally, they win more games. He'll get credit. Some of us will feel a lot better than what we saw last year.
Yeah, I think coaches improve. I think that's a thing we don't talk about enough as media folks, is that coaches get better. Terry Stotts was a bad coach when he was in Atlanta and Milwaukee. He was an assistant on a really good Mavs staff, figured it out. He was a good coach after that. Jason Kidd was a really bad coach in Milwaukee, a really bad coach in Brooklyn. He goes to the Lakers. He learns a little bit more of what it's like. He's a good coach in Dallas. He's good at this.
It's roster based too, right?
Like 100%.
People forget Terry was on that Sonics bench with George Karl when they got to the finals. So really good coach, then given a chance. Roster sucks. Okay, you're gone. Roster sucks. You're gone. Roster's good. You got Dirk. Oh, we won a championship. So it's just like so roster based.
Yeah, I've said before that I think coaching is something like 29% of the equation. Like it's a big part, but it's not. Most of it is Jimmy's and Joe's. This is a thing I learned from Dwayne Casey, former assistant on those Sonics teams and that Mavericks team. It's like there's Jimmy's and Joe's and there's X's and O's, and at some point it's just the Jimmy's and Joe's. Like it's like you can draw up some good stuff, but like if you don't have it's a talent league. The regular season is it's so overwhelming talent wise. Like you can be more prepared and steal a game a week. Hence the San Antonio Spurs won 50 games forever, but like it's talent based. If they didn't have Tim Duncan, they wouldn't have won those 50 games.
I mean, Ty Lue is largely considered a top 5 or even 3 coach in the entire league. Did he miss the playoffs because he sucks? No, COVID hit their locker room the day of the play. Like you can have a great coach,
and they
but
still
you need
won.
a good roster.
Yeah, they still won more than half their games, and they lost to a team that won 36 games. And a non-play-in team, they're in the playoffs. They're in. It doesn't matter. They're the 8th seed with with no Kawhi Leonard and Paul George missing whatever he missed, 45 games, whatever it was. I think the funny stuff is like give like a really good coach like Eric Spoelstra like a terrible roster. Yes, the Heat have missed the playoffs before. Give him a decent roster. They're really good. Like coaching certainly has an impact, but and on the Billups front, they were never good, but they were such a mess to begin the season. Such a mess that he never had a clean shot. He has a clean shot. These first 25 games are huge for, I don't know, me evaluating him, like me complaining. I don't know. It's just like an important distinction. It's like, I plan on complaining.
Yeah. You know what I would have done on this out of bounds play? I wouldn't have drawn that up. It's like, okay.
It's like, I'm not a big X's and O's critiquer, but who plays and when matters to me. The lineups will matter to me. And when we get to November, 20 some games in, I will evaluate it. But I think my confidence level in Chauncey Billups improving is like 90%.
I was gonna, I'm probably something like, short.
How could it be worse? Confidence level in the defense finishing in the top 12 in the NBA.
52%.
Oh, you're a believer in Jeremy Grant and Gary Payton.
I'm a believer in a team coming off of a really bad year, having bad vibes, getting their healthy franchise superstar back, having a coach that's going to ride them on a nightly basis, former player coach, by the way. And then, adding a couple of those pieces. Nurk got the bag. He ended his season rather well before they shut him down.
He was playing too well. They had to get rid of him. They had to get him out of there.
Whether you buy it or not, it's just player talk. Ant seems to really want to prove to people this year that he's better than just a bad defender. And so, top 12, I think it's achievable. I think it's going to be really hard, but I'll give a 52% chance they can do it.
I like that. I would describe myself as less confident in general.
What's the percentage? What did you go with?
39, 38?
Yeah. That's yours is probably more fair. If you will go, what's the number where you go to my number? 15, 16 in the league?
I think them being right at league average, just below, is totally reasonable. I just don't like Damian Lillard's not going to change his stripes. He's going to be a negative defender. Is what it is. If he's a top 5 player on offense, it doesn't matter. Like you build the rest of the roster around his strengths, right? Not like upset at his weaknesses. Ant is such a huge question mark, and he's going to play so many minutes and deserves to because he's so freaking talented. I got questions, and I don't know how you get all of your good defenders on the court at the same time.
Right. No,
how do you get GP? How do you get Nas? How do you get Grant on the court at the same time? You play tiny ball.
Yeah, tiny ball. Yeah.
And if you play really small, it's hard to the best teams defensively in the regular season are typically teams that play big because having a tall person stand around the rim during the first 82 games, incredibly valuable. The best defensive teams in the playoffs tend to play a little smaller because the sport is different. So I think they have the tools to be a league average defense, but top 12, which is about what you need to be a top 5 team in the West. That's like typically about the number. I'm a little skeptical.
I don't like that the Locked On Blazers podcast just made an incredible point and made the Jack Ramsey's podcast feel stupid at the end of that point. So kudos to you.
Hey, this, like I said, this is an incredibly competitive space. This is like the most competitive audio space you could imagine. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action and the best place to get in on your NBA futures bets. You want to bet on the Trailblazers win totals. You want to bet on their chances to make the playoffs, chances to win the Western Conference, chances to make the conference finals, chances to win the Northwest Division. All of those futures bets available on BetOnline. You don't want to bet on the NBA. There's plenty of other sports to bet on. Soccer here and abroad, golf, tennis, combat sports, whatever it is. You're going to find action. And you also, while you're there, you'll find some articles to make you a smarter bettor. One of the options one of the things that BetOnline does is they give you free info to give you a chance to win more money. You can become a smarter bettor, and you can make a little money if that's what you're into. Take advantage today. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, here's the rest of my conversation with Brandon Sprague. What is your confidence level that the Blazers could have a top 5 offense?
Oh, man. 31%.
Oh, you don't think they're going to be as good on offense?
Top 5 is humming.
Yeah.
And Dame and Ant are great. After that, I don't know what I'm going to get. What's Hart going to give me? Is Nas going to prove and stay healthy? Nurk, is he going to stay okay and content? Is Jeremy Grant, how he fits in with that whole thing is fascinating to me. GP2 is not much of a score. So I think they could be good. Top 10, I'd go higher than that. But top 5, it's kind of what everything you just said about defense, apply that to the offensive end. If Dame's having an off night, who's carrying the load for that team? I don't know who I'd point to. So I go kind of low on that one.
My confidence level in them finishing top 5 is pretty high. I'll put it at like 50, 55, 57.
We should try to write these down and keep track of this, like how we're reversing these.
Dear listeners, I'll let you inside the bit. This one is coming out in a week. So I've got a week and I'll write these down.
Okay.
I'll put them in the episode description. I'll text them to you also so you can have them, so you can see where you get. How confident are you that Joe Cronin makes an in-season upgrade to this roster? Not a trade, but an upgrade. Improves the roster.
I'll say they start playing a little better than people think. So people kind of talk about them a little bit in the way that they talk about the Blazers when they're overachieving. 80%.
80%. Yeah. I think I'm at 120% that he trades someone in season.
I mean,
he's basically said that. He's like, we're not good enough. We're not done. The roster's not done, which is so funny. I can't wait to hear him at media day, because the dude he used to work for, he would have been like, this team rocks. Like
championship contender.
Like I'll say this, and this is haterism. Joe Cronin had a Neil Olshey ass off season. He spent a lot of money. He spent a lot of money on a 6'2" guard. Mm-hmm. He doubled down on draft picks on previous players. He gave Anthony Simons the bag. He gave Yusuf Nurkic the bag. That is Neil to a T, y'all. If Neil had been here, you would be raising your pitchforks. It doesn't mean he did wrong, but that is a Neil Olshey looking off season. The Jeremy Grant thing is a totally different beast. That is a tore the roster down, set up yourself up to acquire a high level player. That is a totally different beast. That is a thing that you could celebrate Cronin for. And I think you could celebrate Cronin for Gary Payton. I think you could celebrate him for Anthony Simons and Yusuf Nurkic. I know it's cool to hate on Neil Olshey because he treated people poorly, and I was one of those people that he was mean to relatively regularly, but like he was fine at the job. He was mostly fine at it. The thing he didn't do was take a big swing. Joe Cronin took a problem. Joe Cronin took a big swing and did stuff Neil would do. My confidence in him making a trade is incredibly high. Improving the roster is probably like 61. I'll go 61%, because I think you can trade potentially Nazir Little or a Josh Hart or something like. It's one of those two seems the most tradable on the roster, and get something better.
I think the upgrade part is why I kept it as low as I did. I do expect them to get trade. The upgrade part. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I wasn't a fan of the Nurk deal. That was actually, I thought, a big whiff. We could have got Jonas Valanciunas for 2 years, $30 million, and we're out here giving 4 years guaranteed to a guy who's had a bone go through his leg and weighs 300 pounds. Like, what are we doing there? But and address no real size issues that they have. The difference for me and why I don't hammer him as hard on the offseason stuff, he did the one thing Neil refused to do. He finally looked in the mirror and said, this isn't good enough. We need to break it up. And he blew it up. And it wasn't the most popular moves to make, but the last guy refused to do it. So you said he had a real Neil ass offseason. You're not wrong. But what I would counter with is, I think he even did slightly better because he got to add more than like one player to the nucleus of Norm, Dame, CJ, Cove. You know,
and the stuff he did at the trade deadline was I'm taking that out for my purposes of I don't know, radio personality.
No. I get what you mean, though. I get what you mean. There's no doubt it wasn't perfect.
Yeah, and I don't even think he did poorly. I'm just saying, like, if the other guy had done this, the reaction would have been totally different. It doesn't mean I think he did well. Like, I think I've graded the offseason as like you said, a B- when he did the study. I'll give it just like straight up B. Like, I think they did well. Mm-hmm. I just think there's like a honeymoon phase with this dude because he's nice. He treats people.
Mike, nice matters. Okay.
Yes. Hey, listen,
nice matters.
It has taken me a long way. I'm a little surly, but I'm nice. I'll give you that. How confident are you that the Blazers avoid the play-in?
Ooh, Blazers avoid the play-in. I am like 15% confident they avoid the play-in, and that's probably even a bit high, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm like 12. I'm right in that same range. Like, I just think there's a lot of good teams in the West. Three really good teams are going to finish 6, 7, 8. Like three really good teams are going to finish 6, 7, 8. That's just the nature of it. It could be Dallas, Minnesota, Portland. Like that is totally reasonable. Those are good basketball teams. You know, like 2 of those teams are going to be in the play-in. Someone is going to be just out of it. So I think this is a play-in type team. And I just think like that sounds bad when you say it, but it's like the nature of the West. It's stacked.
I think the benefit though, I mean, the roster itself kind of lends itself to it. It's not just the West, right? The roster is not amazing, but it's good enough to get by with the Dame Lillard. I think the one thing though, that doesn't worry me about saying these things out loud is if I get a 1-game playoff with Damian Lillard and I get that Anthony Simons, like I'll take my shot at that because I think that beats largely anybody in last year's play-in. Like Pelicans, you want to throw them in there? I think that beats them. So I don't know. I just think even if they get the play-in, they're still going to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, same. I mean, the problem is if you are a play-in team, you're at best the 7th best team in the West. It's so hard to win from those positions. The NBA is a meritocracy for the most part. You can purchase that merit, unfortunately, or that merit can join you by force because they want to move to Southern California. Or, you know, one of the 5 boroughs of New York. But like the 82 games kind of indicate how good you are. So like if a team finishes second, it's because they're really good. You see upsets every now and then, and it's often injury related, but like, if you're a play-in team, even if you're the best play-in team, you're going to play the second seed in the opening round of the playoffs. And that's going to be brutal because that's going to be like Golden State or somebody. That's going to be a really freaking, probably a championship caliber team night 1 when they've had to rest and got to watch you play a couple games. So like I said, like, I don't think the play-in is a bad place to be, but it's not a good place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Listen, I think there's going to be a separation between like 4 and 10 in the West of like 4 or 5 games. Like I think it's going to be super, super tight because I think all those teams are really similar. They're going to beat up on each other. They're going to beat up on an Eastern Conference that took a step back after being very briefly better. A handful of unlucky bounces or injury luck is going to determine whether you're 4th and have home court advantage or you're 10th and you are several, it's going to be a challenge.
It's part of the equation for them for sure I don't ever root for anybody. I don't care what jersey you wear. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but the unfortunate nature of where Portland sits, they kind of need some of that to go their way. They need, hey, this guy's out for 35 games. Hey, this dude's out for the rest of the year. Again, I don't want to see that, but to get where they want to go and to be as good as they possibly can, they need some of that to, no pun intended, break their way.
Yeah. What's your confidence level in Trendon Watford as a backup center?
7%, Bob. I am concerned about this on a level you can't understand. Eubanks is going to be 3rd string. I just think that more likely than not, Chauncey's going to look at Justice Winslow and Jeremy Grant and go, you guys are thick. You're athletic. Screw it. Let's go. Lean into it. More so than he's going to go trend and consistently come off the bench, be our second big. He'll do it. I just think he's going to lean a little more small ball in those moments.
Yeah, and even if you play Trendon, like he's not a rim protector. You're still small. He's a fun and interesting player. I like him because he's like weird, and I like weird players. He's like he bullies little guys. He tries to get past big guys, and he loves to he's like a small center who loves to dribble. He's fun. And he only takes floaters. Like he's a fun player, but it's at some point you might need some size, and they have 2 guys who are true centers on the roster, and one of them is Drew Eubanks, who was, he's a fringe guy on a not very good San Antonio team, and he was good when he was here, but he was good on one of the worst rosters you could possibly imagine. So it's hard to know. I kind of think he's fine as a backup. My worry with Eubanks is like Nurk misses a game with a rolled ankle, and then Drew Eubanks is playing 31 minutes. That's my actual concern.
Well, that's probably the most realistic thing, though, because Nurk's recent history suggests he's going to miss more than 1 game. He is going to miss 10 to 15.
Right. Say he misses 10. Say he misses 10.
Right.
I don't feel good about those 10.
Hell no, you don't. You need the schedule to line up for you if you're going to be getting in there. You need a lot of Julius Randle matchups coming. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You need teams that are totally comfortable playing smaller, Dallas or whatever. So like their big guy is Christian Wood and Dwight Powell. So they're not going to beat you up or whatever.
You need Charlotte on the schedule. You need Mason Plumlee coming to town or going to Charlotte, whatever that is. Like you need that to kind of happen for you.
100%. How confident are you that the Blazers will win 45 games this season?
That's above what I think they'll win. I'll go, for argument's sake, I'll go 38%. No, I'm going to up that 46%, because if I'm going to have them at 44, like who's to say they don't accidentally win a game that they definitely shouldn't, like at Golden State Dame just goes off in the Bay. I'll say like 46%.
Yeah. Josh Hart has another Barack Obama. It's like, it'll happen.
Right. Justice Winslow somehow puts it together. Nas has his career high night. Ant can't not miss. Like these are they're bound to happen for them.
100%. They've got some firepower. They just, again, the whole thing with the roster is like, how do they get them all on the floor? And the answer every time is go smaller. And it's like, oh, what? Like, how after the last 7 seasons did they end up here where it's like, small ball is definitely trending in the league, but it's more like 6'7", 6'8" small. It's like non-7 footers.
It's Boston. Right? It's a bunch of Boston dudes. And then, but even bigs are making a comeback. Bigs are in. This is big season now. Like bigs are skilled. They can shoot. They can stretch. They're not traditional bigs anymore. So, of the moves they make, we talked about that, the percentages of Joe making a move. I mean, it's definitely got to be a guy of substantial size, whether that's a 6'9" to 7 footer, whoever that is. Like I'd imagine if there's a move, that's the move.
Yeah. Ideally it's in that 6'8" to 6'10" with skills range. It's the type of player every team wants, right? Like
it's just Jonathan Isaac. Like he still won't get the shot, but like, he doesn't necessarily fit in with the Portland team, but he's healthy and Orlando doesn't like him anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like unfortunately it's going to be something like that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, totally. I don't want to call it bargain shopping, because like these players are, it's not necessarily going to be, trading Rodney Hood or trading for Rodney Hood or whatever for Nick Stauskas. Right. But it's going to be mixing and matching with kind of mid-level starters, right? Like what does Josh Hart bring you? He's a good player who can help teams. He'll be good on a lot of good teams. What does that look like in a trade scenario? What do you get? Can you upgrade? No, but can you change the shape of the roster a little bit? Probably. Okay, that might make the team better, type of thing.
I'd look out for a LaMarcus comeback.
I wouldn't, but I don't think he's had too many opportunities. He's had too many opportunities.
I know, but I think it's a player of that caliber, though. You know what I mean? Like I think that's
yeah.
Kind of what they're looking for.
I will agree with that. 100%. Specifically, LaMarcus. It's like he's like, me and Dame have always dreamed of playing together. I'm going to sign with Patty Mills, my other favorite point guard. Oh, I'm going to do that again. Also, I'll go back to Patty one more time with longtime teammates, me and Patrick Mills. You know him. Okay, last one for you.
Yeah.
What is your confidence level the Blazers win a playoff series?
1%.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
We're supposed to end these on a positive note. I've learned that.
They made the playoffs. That's the positive note.
Oh, okay,
they just stopped winning the season. Yeah. The series, man. That ain't happening.
What holds them back?
The teams that are better. I don't know how to answer that. Like your first round matchup could very possibly be Golden State, could be Phoenix, maybe Memphis is there. Every team Denver, the Clippers, Denver, like you don't have any momentum or matchup advantages for those series. And I know Sprague, they've won series we didn't think they'd win before. Yeah, a little different now here, Bob. We're dealing with Drew Eubanks and or Justice Winslow as the backup center. I'm sorry. I think they make the playoffs. I don't think there's a chance they win a playoff series. I'm being optimistic with one. I should have gone into the 0% category.
Wow, folks, that's at Brandon Sprague on Twitter. That's Dirt and Sprague, 6 to 9 a.m. Call him up. Call him the radio show. This will probably be off air by the time they get there, but call him as soon as this comes out and demand to speak to the third best radio host in the Portland area. Say, I don't want to talk to number one. I want to talk to the third best guy. They'll put you on the line with Brandon. 1%. Yeah, I mean, I'm not much higher. Who am I kidding? I'm giving you a hard time.
What's yours?
9?
That's really high.
Right, but here's my
Steph Curry break his leg in game one.
Yeah. It's like if you get into the dance, the chances that like you get into the tournament, the chances say they're like the 6th seed, right? And the 3 is a Phoenix.
Say it's Minnesota. Say it's Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota, right? Like Rudy Gobert, a guy you can specifically probably scheme out of the lineup, because if you spread the court, you might be able to punish him, right? Yeah, I would like that idea. Say it's Phoenix after 80 games and they just hate each other because Chris Paul has never had a job for a long time where his coworkers don't hate him. And it's even worse because there's other forces causing bad vibes there. Like, I don't think it's likely, but I think they have more than just a random dart throw of winning a playoff series, because I'm a pretty big believer in the roster being more equipped to win a playoff series than to win in the regular season. I think in some ways they are more likely to win as the 7th seed than they are to get the 3rd seed. If that's fair, because I think you can play small in the playoffs. Like, I think it's been proven that you can, because what you can do in the playoffs, how it's different, you can leave your advantage creators on the court for 45 minutes. In the regular season, you can't play Dame 45 minutes. So you have an extra 10 minutes where it's like, they can't guard him. They have no chance of guarding him. We'll leave him on the court for all of these minutes because we'll have an advantage every time down the floor. You can do that in the playoffs. You just can't do it in February. You can't do it in March.
So that's at Mike G. Rich of the Locked On I Don't Believe in the Blazers at All podcast. So give him a follow, shout him out, and attack him. Sub 10%.
That is true.
Okay.
I always get they're like this guy hates the Blazers, and I'm like, no, I love the NBA. I love it. I'm just like a realist or something. I don't know. I'm a pessimist at heart. I can't.
I lean more that's realistic, but whatever.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Brandon, if people are looking for more of you, I know I've already plugged you to get the hate mail. Where can they find you?
At Brandon Sprague on Twitter, 6 to 9 a.m. on 1080 The Fan, Dirt and Sprague. It's football season's coming up, sadly, for the NBA. Kind of gets relegated in the sports radio sphere. So for all you basketball junkies, I do a podcast with Danny Meringue at Jack Ramsey's. Kind of sorting out what our schedule is going to be this year. I might have some stuff, so our schedule will change. Danny's, I think, going to go to a lot of games this year because of his schedule. So we got a lot of content coming our way, and follow if you can. And if you just hated me on this thing, that's okay too. Like, you don't have to listen, you don't have to follow, but we'd love it if you did.
I think we have a ton of crossover listeners. I think there are a ton of people who listen to both podcasts because there's time in the day to both. So check it out. I will link the radio show and Jack Ramsey's in the episode description for these episodes. Brandon, thanks for joining us all week long here in August. It was a real treat. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. It's always nice to talk to a fellow Tar Heel.
Oh yeah, fellow Tar Heel. I went to East Chapel Hill High, brother. What's East Chapel Hill High? I've had lunch with Serge Zwicker. I'm bona fide. Dante Calabria has been in my car. Like, these are listen, I can't even. Brian Bursticker once hit on my sister. Okay, that's I'm Chapel Hill in my core. All right, dear listeners, I won't shout out any end of the bench Tar Heels for at least the next week. Shout out to Jason Capel and Chris Lang. Shout out to Joseph Forte. Shout out to Brendan Haywood.
Joe Forte. Love Joe Forte.
Dear listeners, tell your friends about this podcast. We're rolling along in August during the light season, but 5 days a week when the season gets going, come back and join us. I appreciate you listening, and I'll talk to you soon.